The bustling streets of Manila's Divisoria Market were a symphony of life. Vendors shouting over one another, their voices weaving through the scent of freshly fried lumpia and the earthy aroma of damp pavement. Jeepneys rumbled down the crowded roads, their metallic bodies rattling as they squeezed through impossibly tight spaces. Shoppers haggled relentlessly, their hands clutching woven bayongs filled with fruit, fabric, and fish. Amidst the chaos, a voice rose above the noise. Soft at first, then soaring, raw, pure, and hauntingly beautiful. It was the kind of voice that demanded to be heard. Not because it was loud, but because it carried something deeper. A fragile yet powerful sound that ached with longing and yet shimmered with undying hope. At the edge of the market, near a crumbling wall covered in layers of faded posters, a young girl stood barefoot on the cold concrete. Her name was Elena. She was small, too small for her 10 years. Her limbs thin from hunger, her skin darkened not by play, but by endless days under the Manila sun. Her long black hair fell in tangled strand around her face, framing eyes that held more pain than any child should ever know. Her dress, once pink, had faded into an indistinguishable gray, its fabric frayed from too many nights spent curled up on the hard ground. But when Elena sang, none of that mattered. She sang Kundiman, songs of love, of loss, of devotion that stretched across generations. Songs her mother used to hum while rocking her to sleep before she vanished one fateful night. Her voice carried through the market like a whisper from forgotten past. It rose and fell like the tide, echoing the rhythm of sorrow and survival. It was not the voice of a beggar, but the voice of a girl clinging to something unseen, a sliver of hope, a chance, a dream. People passed by. Some glanced but did not stop. A few dropped coins into the empty can by her feet, but they never met her eyes. To them, she was just another street child, one of many. Another nameless soul lost in the cracks of the city. She was invisible. But then, someone paused. A woman, different from the rest. She did not hurry past. She did not look away. Instead, she stood there, her gaze locked on the fragile child with the voice of an angel. And in her eyes was something Elena had not seen in a long time. Genuine kindness. She was a foreign tourist, perhaps in her late 40s, with kind blue eyes that had seen the world, but never like this. Margaret Turner had spent years traveling, searching for meaning in distant lands, collecting stories like rare gems. She had walked through the ruins of Rome, traced history along the Great Wall of China, and watched the sun sink behind the pyramids of Egypt. But nothing had ever moved her quite like this moment. She had come to the Philippines for its rich culture, its breathtaking islands, its history steeped in resilience. But she had not expected to find a story written in the voice of a child. The Little Girl's a song wrapped around Margaret's heart like a lullaby long forgotten. Each note carried years of longing, of love lost, of a mother's embrace that had faded into memory. The melody wove itself into the air, trembling with the weight of loneliness, yet soaring with an unbroken spirit. Margaret felt her chest tighten. She had heard countless performances in her lifetime, some in the grandest of concert halls. But this was different. This was pure. This was pain, hope, and survival poured into music. And then silence. The last note hung in the air before dissolving into the noise of the market. The world resumed its hurried pace. Vendors shouted, jeepneys honked, and people moved on as if nothing had happened. But Margaret could not move. She found herself stepping forward, her heart hammering in her chest. She knelt before the girl, eye level, not looking down but looking at her. "That was beautiful," she whispered, her voice trembling with something she couldn't name. "Where did you learn to sing like that?" Elena hesitated. She wasn't used to kindness. The world had taught her that most people only asked questions when they wanted something in return. "My nene used to sing to me before she left." Margaret's breath caught. She swallowed hard, pushing down the lump in her throat. "Where do you live, sweetheart?" Elena dropped her gaze, staring at her bare feet. "Nowhere. I sleep near the market." The words were simple, spoken as a fact, as if she had accepted it long ago. But to Margaret, They were devastating. A child with nowhere to go. A child who sang instead of begged, as if her voice was the only thing she had left in the world. A heavy silence settled between them, thick with unspoken grief. Margaret could hear the market around her, the clatter of metal pans, the murmur of transactions, but it all faded into the background. At that moment, she made a decision. She reached into her purse, not for money, not for charity, but for something far greater. I run a music school back in the US. Would you like to come with me? To learn, to sing, to have a home. Elena's head snapped up, her wide brown eyes searching Margaret's face. A trick? A joke? Life had never given her anything for free. And yet, there was something different about this woman. The way she spoke, the way she listened, it didn't feel like pity. It felt like hope. Tears welled up in Elena's eyes, her small hands trembling. For years, she had only dreamed of a world beyond the cold streets and the hunger that gnawed at her belly. For years, she had clung to her songs because they were the only things no one could take away from her. And now, someone had finally listened. Slowly, hesitantly, she nodded. That day, amidst the noise and chaos of Manila's market, Elena's life changed forever. She would leave behind the hunger, the loneliness, the endless nights of sleeping under flickering street lights. She would trade them for melodies, for lessons, for a life filled with love. And years later, in a grand theater in New York, as the world rose to its feet in applause, the name Elena Navarro would be spoken with reverence. The once abandoned Filipina child whose voice had risen from the streets and touched the sky. Because sometimes, all it takes is one song and one person willing to listen. Like, share, and subscribe for more stories that challenge, inspire, and reveal the power of truth.